Hi, Allison.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi. I'm trying to get so I can see everybody.
Well, there aren't that many people here.
Okay, well, I'm going to eat my ice cream thing.
Oh, yum. I wish I had ice cream right now.
Well, I thought I deserved it.
Yes. And if it makes you happy, that's also important.
Amen.
I was teaching a class this weekend, and the whole time I was worried about running out of oxygen, because once it's below a quarter, it's just so hard to know how much you have left. And, you know, it's not very expensive, so it's worth changing. It's just that they don't always have the size tanks that I use. But on Monday, it lasted though, so that was good. I used to have my studio neighbor's tanks. Whenever I taught in person, I'd always have her tanks for backup. And because you'd never know how much, you know, the students would use in person, because they probably use more than I do. So anyway, got through the weekend.
How's the market going?
So I'm doing another one this Saturday. And look, the first three I did, I thought were great. And now it's summer and there's all these events going on, so it seems slower. We also had to bug out the last two times because there may have been weather and lightning in the distance. And closing an hour early is not a big deal because it dies off anyway with the farmer's market. So, you know, I'm just, my neighbor last time, she told me that she logs every show she does. And I thought that was a great idea. So I started a log on Excel to just see, you know, how much money I make at each one, what my booth is, the placement, if we had to leave early, all of that, just to assess it. Cause I mean, I have no idea. But I know the ones I did in April and May were fantastic, and I was busy the whole time. So the last one I did seemed a little slower. And, you know, I can assess, and maybe in the summer I'd do one a month, or, I mean, who knows? But it's, you know, and then in November and December, I have 3 Saturdays I'm doing, and I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do or not, but got to try.
Yep.
Hey, Larry. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Erica.
But
Hi.
while there was a quick sec, then Larry, because I think I have to hop off, but I am shortly going to send you the images for the next jury, and then send the check to you again as well.
Okay.
Cool. Do we know when it's going to be yet?
Now, it's up in the air. I hope I get enough applications next week.
You know, people wait till the last minute, but could they be busy with summer shows right now?
Right. Well, I figured after Ann Arbor, if people were going to apply, they would, except that the people that are applying don't do shows like Ann Arbor.
Well, Bonnie, I am happy to see you anyway, but especially so because I was chuckling when I knew that I was going to hop on and find out what the deal was with Larry, which I, yeah, because when I did Howard Allen's Frederick show in June, then they had a really nice red brick walkway where we were set up. So I made an special point to get a new booth shot with this beautiful red walkway and no carpet. Since you gave me such a hard time about the rug.
Thank you.
So anyway, that's why I'm doing your jury evals, because just a tip like that made me think, oh, here's a beautiful red brick ground. I'll go ahead and use that for my bootstrap.
Okay, that's worth it.
Excellent. That makes
thanks,
me,
Bonnie. Yes, thank you.
excuse me, guys, this is lunch.
I'm here.
If it wasn't so hot out, I think I'd go get some ice cream myself. You're making that look so good.
Yeah, next time,
Well-
bring enough for everybody.
Yeah, really, really.
I think I'm wearing most of it.
So after Ann Arbor, so there was already with the Madison show. So what other big shows are there?
Uptown,
Minneapolis?
yeah, but there's a week in between.
Uh-huh. Because I'm bummed. I have not heard about the wait list for Sun Valley, and I know a lot of people consider that a filler show. But I know that they have their big wine auction this weekend, and the guy who does that show promotes that. So anyway, but because of the distance, I'm gonna have to cancel my Airbnb, probably next week because it's getting too close. So, and I know a lot of people who cancel are doing last minute, but when it's, a 14-hour drive, you can't exactly you can't really just, do last minute.
No.
And then Park City, you're not allowed to contact them or communicate it anyway. So I can't even, with Sun Valley, I, emailed the director and said, just make sure I'm still on the list. And he responded. But yeah, Park City.
Oh, that is
What?
so, I hate when they say, don't contact us.
Yeah,
Well,
it's pretty
excuse me.
obnoxious.
This is my livelihood. You are
Yep.
obviously not keeping in close enough contact, because if you were, I would not have to contact you.
Well, it's more of, I think for many people, they can't wait even this long for the wait list. I mean, the show is like August 4th or 5th. And I think it does help if you could email show promoters saying, hey, I'm still in if a spot opens up.
Yeah,
Well, why can't you do that?
Park City, when they sent out their wait list information, like absolutely you cannot contact them. They were explicit about it.
yeah, some shows get real pissy about it, which I don't get.
Yeah.
I remember
So-
Oklahoma City was like that, and I used to call them every week,
Oh.
and I got in.
Wow. By the
Well,
way, sorry, go ahead.
I tell our artists, if you can't get the information that you want off your number that's on your waitlist number that's on Zap, contact me.
Mhm.
I'll gladly tell you.
Right.
I've been the queen of waitlists for years.
So this, the person who stole the images, remember the
Yeah,
jeweler? So she was at the Salem Arts Festival, and apparently she's in the Bellevue Arts Festival.
Yep.
Bellevue,
Greta-
Washington.
Greta Cannon. Everybody
Yep.
know her.
Yeah. So, I don't know if those shows don't know or what the story is, but
Is she actually there or just on the accepted list?
so
On
I
the
have a
website,
friend-
and they just
I have
put the images up yesterday.
well, I have a friend who did the Salem Arts Festival and said she was physically there.
Well, I think it's really interesting. It looks like the picture that she's using as far as the personal picture is of
Mhm.
her daughter.
Really?
Yeah, because she's kind of,
Oh,
my understanding is she's kind of more closer to my age.
I know somebody who knows her here, so I could ask if that's
Yeah, I
her
think
or not.
she's got gray hair and her daughter's a really cute blonde.
Mhm.
Not the gray hair isn't gorgeous.
But there's a difference between.
You're getting an Elvis pompadour now.
Yeah, I can't figure this out. But, and it was standing up, it must be the angle because it was standing up really nicely when I came down here, but now it's.
You could try egg whites too.
Egg
Oh, you know,
whites.
I heard that years ago.
And it acts like a dry shampoo as well.
Oh, great.
No, that's how they used to do bedridden people to wash their hair. They beat it up real stiff and then massage that into their hair and then wait a little longer and brush it out.
Wow,
Oh,
Interesting.
interesting.
very interesting.
Are we talking about your hair, Bonnie?
Yes,
One of the things we were
common.
talking about.
a common subject when I'm around.
Well, you sort of have a peak again.
Yeah. I guess it's this side. Yeah, I don't quite understand it, but I'm not going out anywhere, so it doesn't have to look halfway decent until Thursday.
Looks okay to me.
Thank you.
Did anyone do any shows this weekend or this past weekend? Yeah, right. Today's Tuesday.
Yes, Central Pennsylvania.
Ah, and how did that go?
Pretty good. From what I understand, I heard at the end of the show that the it usually coordinates with alumni week or alumni whatever, and they
Mhm.
cancel the alumni. Somebody canceled the alumni part for
Mhm.
COVID reasons, is what I heard. I have no idea whether it's how valid that is, but I heard it from an
Mhm.
artist who heard it from one of the staff members. So that cut down on the buyers quite a bit. There were lots and lots
Oh.
of people there, but college kids don't have a lot of money.
Right.
Mm.
How to
So,
those-
There aren't
is
many
that-
college kids in college campus in July anyway.
well, that's
Some,
true
but
too.
not
No, there were a lot there.
Yeah.
So is that the state, is that the same show as the state college show? Is that
Yep.
just two different?
Yep.
Okay.
About 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, they used to have alumni weekend the same weekend as the art festival. And then they split it up because it became too congested downtown. And they split up alumni weekend over different weekends, depending on what year you graduated. And the show took a dive.
Yeah, I can see why, because the coordination between the city, the Penn State University, and the art show, I would think would be a really strong coordination, plus the businesses in town benefit from all that congestion you were talking about, Larry. That's good for business.
Yeah, the other thing is that was one of the few shows, it might have been the only show in the country before they went digital. They would have an artist party the night before the show opened, and they would project all the jury images
Wow.
in the order the show was laid out.
Oh, that sounds great.
And it
Oh, I'd love
was
that.
phenomenal.
Great for shopping.
Yeah.
And as soon as they went to Zap, no more projection, even though it became easier to project.
Yeah.
I wish there was a movement to bring that back. That does sound really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I used to drive up there, even years I didn't do the show, I would drive up there and go to the party the night before.
Never one to miss a party.
No, I wanted to see the images.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, whatever.
yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot of
we
those
believe that.
parties have gone by the wayside though. And also, I remember Crested Butte had this fabulous party, but you'd have to get there early because, the artists and free food.
Very true. So Oscar, how was your
Yes.
show?
By my
Hi,
standards,
Oscar.
hi, lousy.
On a
Could've
scale of
been
1 to
better.
scale of 1 to 10, where would you put it, Oscar?
I will put it in at 5 right now. I didn't lose money, but it was, if I was compared to before, I said my new display, it will be a good show, but now it's like a bad show, okay show.
Oscar,
know.
do you ever make sales related to the shows but after the fact, or is it always on site for the most
It's
part?
been happening more often now, but then I get sales after that. But it's been here and there. I've been getting more sales after the shows. I'm going to say that for sure, but it's not like a regular thing lately.
But maybe it could be. I mean,
The things like in Penn State, I don't know if John can say this or not, but it was like there was a lot of bunch of kids and a lot of old people. Nobody between the 30 and 50. That word was far in between. At least in the mall section.
Mhm.
And most of the items got sold was under 500.
Got it. And you really need some bigger prices to kind of push it over.
Correct, because $2,000-$3,000 in a show for that distance is not worth.
Right.
It.
Where were you?
And the mall, and I have to dolly in, dolly out,
Mm-hmm.
and that probably hurt my neck a little bit. Also, I was still rattled about the thing with Crassel. So
Right.
because on Thursday I got like a bunch of unloading my Instagram stuff, and I got a bunch of nasty messages in my Instagram account. So
Scary.
I was a little bit off on my game on Thursday, and Sunday was Sunday. Sundays I never make sales in that show. So
How's your
right
cooler?
now, I need to see how it works. This in Ann Arbor, because I plug it in through the Jackery and drain the Jackery big time. So
Okay.
we'll see how it goes.
We just got the Jackery because David Bierstum had posted they were on sale. And so Eric is like, it's a new toy for him. But I hope if I don't get into any of these wait lists, I won't be able to really try it until next year, except our electricity went out the other day, so we could, use it if we needed to. I mean, it's always good to have, but
Yeah.
I've been using this motorcycle battery for years, and the lights dim in my cases. And with jewelry, even if it's sunny out, it's nice to have lights because it causes things to sparkle. So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm excited about it.
Are you guys feeling that the wait lists have been increased this year because of artists canceling at any point in the process because of the expense of getting there, the gas prices?
I have no data for this, but every show I've done, people have canceled at the last minute, and I think it's because they get sick. If you have COVID and that kind of thing. I mean, so anyone who, like any of the wait lists I'm on, if I could just show up, I think I'd probably get in, but I can't risk that if it's a 14-hour drive and, I have to still pay for my lodging and all that. So like in Old Town, there were people who canceled like the night before. It seems the few shows I've done, it seems that there have been very last minute cancellations, where in the past, if I've been on a wait list, I'd find out months ahead of time.
Mhm.
And that's, just my own anecdotal information, but
Yeah. Thank you.
If
though.
those are smart, they will keep a very robust wait list right now. Because there is, as Allison said, a lot of cancellations at the very last minute. A friend of mine had to cancel Ann Arbor, and she canceled today, but she was exposed to COVID.
right.
And yeah, you don't know.
But unfortunately, not everyone takes care to do that. I mean,
Right.
a friend of mine said that her neighbor, she only found out during breakdown that they had COVID, and I hope they were at least wearing a mask.
I was like, Will, I'm supposed to say that in the podcast this week.
Yes.
Somebody
Okay.
Cherry Creek.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that really
disturbing.
sucks. I mean, and the thing is, a lot of people are not wearing masks. If you think you have COVID, at least wear a mask.
Yeah. If you think you've been exposed.
Yes, exactly.
even if you don't necessarily think you have it, just,
So,
do everyone a favor because it's really popping back up.
that's right.
It is. My sister just ended up with it again, and
Oh.
one of my nieces and my nephew, and my niece is 12, and she
Oh.
had such a high fever that, they were really worried about her for a day or two until that fever finally broke.
So that's what I'm hearing, that people they could be vaxxed and boosted and all that, and it's
Mhm.
still really miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And now it seems like I'm hearing more about the younger people having more effects than what they did in the past, like this newest
Mhm.
mutation,
Right.
Hearing the same thing.
Supposedly in the fall, they're coming out with, aside from boosters, a particular vaccine for the Omicron variant, which would be good.
Yeah, I was just reading about that the other day.
Mhm. Okay, so here's a topic. Craft fairs and this whole active shooter situation.
Uh-huh.
I've been thinking about it. What the hell do we do? I mean, who posted the video? I forget which show it was, that there was a video that talked about all the procedures for the show, load in, load out, and he did
Frazzle.
also Krazel. Okay, and he did address that kind of situation, but
It was a really good, I thought,
yeah,
a really good video.
yeah,
And then they show screwed up everything later, but
right,
that's
right.
beside the point.
Yeah, but it's like, shit, do we have to worry about this? I just, people I know with kids in regular grade school, sorry, they I don't know what goes on in regular grade school, but they have shooter drill, like for years, these drills. I just asked a friend of mine who worked in a school, and they have them regularly. And I mean, it's just so scary that this is what kids have to think about, but I think now we all have to think about this. And I mean, some customers of mine in Highland Park, just north of Chicago, I had mailed something to him like the week before. And so I emailed saying, I hope you and your family are okay. Well, they were there. They ran into a store, sheltered in place for a couple of hours. Their kids like just past the corner where the shooting happened 30 seconds before, and all the kids ran to the school bus. They were playing in the band. I mean, that's just, it's just all too common. And I don't know. I want to know what other people think about regarding, we're out in these public spaces, and I don't know what we can really do. But if you train yourself for certain things, even though you don't know what the situation may be, you might be able to do things in a less panicked way. So
Hey,
I think the big thing is to just be aware. Be aware of what's going on around you.
mhm.
I just had an interesting call. An artist that lives in Oklahoma needs to do a booth picture, and it's over 100 degrees every day.
Mhm.
And he's kind of disabled, so he can't deal with the heat. And we were just going over some options. I asked him if he has a church that has a community room where he might be able to bring his stuff and set up indoors
Good idea.
with the tent. Or I think what he's going to do is set it up in the middle of the night and shoot the picture early in the morning.
Let me ask you this, if you don't mind, since you've been on so many juries, Larry, how important is it?
Not a jury.
You're not a juror, but you've seen a lot of juries, right? Yeah. How important do you think it is to actually see the tent versus the artwork?
The tent needs to show a white roof, not a whole roof.
Okay, as a juror, I could care less.
Amen. Hire her. Well, but see,
No,
this is part,
it's-
this, but this goes to that discussion, I think it was last week too. What are the jurors looking at? What are the promoters telling the jurors are important to look at in the
Right.
process? The jury slide, if that jury slide is the decisive factor in you getting into or out of the show, if that's important to show that, I think we need to hear that in the prospectus to say your booth slide should include these kinds of features. And if it doesn't, then realize that you're going to get penalized. But then a lot of artists are probably going to, again, if the booth slide, I understand that if it's trying to show the jurors what the public's going to see when they're standing in front of your booth, but is it more important to see the booth
Wait a
and-
second.
or
Here's
the
the
artwork?
It's, the show director should be going through the applications before the jurors see them.
Amen.
Not the jurors' point to say, oh, this doesn't have a white canopy. The show director should pull that out and call the artist and have them submit another image with a white canopy.
If
Right.
that's what they want, I totally agree.
That would be a
Why-
very nice thing to do.
And why is that so impossible for show directors to do?
It isn't.
It isn't. Jay Downey at Fort Worth used to send me booth pictures with the artist name in it for me to take the names out.
Wow, that's above and beyond. That's very nice.
And they're not getting any short supply. They get a lot of applications. So if they can do it with 12, 14, 16, 1,800 applications, a
Right,
show getting 400 or 500 should have no problem whatsoever doing that.
Right.
that's
Now, how
right.
does the word get out to the show directors that, as a suggestion, to change the way they do things, to make it a clearer process? and
There's,
take the,
And
input-
AI.
there are some show directors don't give a shit.
Okay,
And some
I
show
will,
directors do.
I will make a note to bring it up at our next show director meeting.
that'd be nice if more shows could catch on, because if we don't know what the target is for sure, and then we get juried out, then we don't fully understand, as has happened as we know all our careers, we don't understand why we're getting juried out, what the jurors
Exactly.
are looking at. And if the show directors can step in and say, okay, we're gonna do this up front so that your jury slide will not have an issue, and make sure that the jurors understand, we've already gone through the booth slides. However, that's going to affect your jurying of the booth slides.
The juror, unless there are artists on the jury, shouldn't make a decision based on whether or not there's a roof on the canopy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it depends what the show tells them. Some
Right.
shows say, we want to see a canopy. Thank you, Lesnick,
Slesnick, yeah.
Lesnick.
Well,
For how-
and
butchering
through
that one.
walls. And if you don't show the third wall, you're hiding something.
Yeah. As a juror, the booth image to me is for overall look, but a huge amount is for scale. Especially like with clay, it looks like the piece may be 4 inches tall and you see it in the booth image and it's 4 feet tall. That's different. I want to see the overall look. Is the booth filled with all kinds of tchotchkes? And they applied, their regular images are all nice, big, expensive pieces? Yeah. Do I want to be set up next to the person?
Or if they have a red canopy and it makes your
Yeah.
work look red.
Well,
I
and I
once
think-
jur-
Go ahead.
I
Okay,
once juried
well-
a show and the work was really great, but the booth was really horrible. And everyone agreed to just ask the artist to rework their booth, which was actually kind of nice. But I think that's, an exception to the rule, and the jurors are not obligated to do that.
But see, another variation on that I've seen in the years that I've juried shows, and know from other artists that have juried shows, how many times, and especially with two-dimensional work, people will show a couple pieces on each wall, and not to say they may not blow them up in Photoshop to make them look especially big and powerful, but that's not what they hang in their booth. And if the booth slide is supposed to represent what you're going to show in your booth, that's misleading. And somewhere down the line that kind of an artist should be caught for that.
Well, it's sort of like, it's like photoshopping work from websites you find to get into shows, and then you show your own work, which is buy, sell. So, and
Right.
yet, you know, the show has to care.
Right. And, you know, or if it's like say in photography, they show black and white imagery in their booth, but they show most of the color, that's a misrepresentation. And I think
Yeah.
shows need to confirm that on site. And there are some shows that do that. But the only way that booth slide then is relevant in the jury process is if it really reflects what the show director wants to see and have presented for them to see for whatever their reason is. And then the artist, then they confirm it at the show and penalize the artists that don't do it. You know, close them down, say, hey, you're not showing what you said you were going to bring.
My favorite booth image is the one where someone will show, you know, their 10 by 10 booth, and then outside of it, on both sides, they'll come out probably 4 or 5 feet with stuff outside their booth.
Right.
Now,
You mean your least favorite?
Yeah.
yes,
You mean like printed tote bags and stuff like that?
well, anything.
No, just
I mean, they spill out.
right.
I want you contained in your 10 by 10. I want to
Right.
see what your 10 by 10 looks like.
Okay, and so for example, if an artist does double booths most of the time, you still only want to see half the booth?
Nope, I want to see the whole booth.
Okay.
Yep, and you can put on there if there are some shows that you apply to with only one booth, put it in the notes on the booth image itself, that this is my double booth, so cut it in half if you want to see my single.
Yeah, the only problem with that is a single booth appears much larger to the jury than a double booth.
Yeah. Okay, so how do you want me to put it? As far as state exactly what you want the booth image to contain. That's not quite right, but
No, you want it to be what it's going to look like at a show.
What are your specs for your booth, for the booth image? You could do something like that.
Thank
And then, you know, example, do you want it cropped? Do you need to see the outside top of the roof, which often not, but
Is the purpose, for example, the person Larry was describing that because of the heat in Oklahoma and being handicapped, I think you said, Larry, if he were to
Yes.
take that indoors and shoot it indoors on his panels, would that disqualify him for applying to outdoor shows because he's not showing his booth? Or does he also have to take his booth indoors and set the booth up indoors to put his panels and his artwork in it, to photograph it so they can see the booth? So indoor booth slides are a penalty for a lot of shows that say they want to see your booth slide.
just put a note on the image. Again, it's 100 degrees. I had to set it up indoors.
Well,
But
I
you
told
think-
him to take his canopy indoors.
right. So it's a whole booth shot. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. You're giving him too much credit. He only has tables.
Well, in that case, but if there was another artist, similar situation, or say the promoter came back and said, you know, we got a problem with your booth slide, you need to reshoot it. How many people can do that on short notice?
Not
The thing
me.
is to email the show well ahead of time and ask what they want if you're not clear about it. The Smithsonian actually requires a booth shot now. So I emailed them. I said, I only have an outdoor booth shot. You know, do you need an indoor? And they said, no, it's fine. So that for decades, they never required a booth shot, but clearly they've had problems, I imagine. Theoretically, the booth shot also, which is why jewelry should be closer up, but theoretically the booth shot is supposed to show the booth in the cases or on the walls or whatever, your medium is, to kind of prove that you are who you are.
Yeah, I thought last week Sharon McAllister was saying something about she kind of likes seeing a corner or two panels, but a more close up of the jewelry.
Yes.
But then promoters need to, do promoters not need to sort of address that in that description of what they would like to see in the booth slide, and maybe break down that, okay, two-dimensional work on walls, this is what we want to see. Three-dimensional work like jewelry, we want to see something more like this. Because if you're a jeweler and you're setting up and Sharon says, well, I kind of like it closer up, maybe only two sides to the booth, and you send a three panel booth further away from the artwork, is that going to penalize you because it's harder to see the jewelry in the cases if you're shooting 3 panels?
Right. I wish that
Oh,
show
needs
would
to-
specify.
Yeah, I think the show needs to specify if they want to see it jewelry closer up, then tell us.
See, and that would be
We
great.
can all do it.
Yeah, the other thing is you can call your booth picture corner booth.
But does that not rely on the jurors reading what's on the prospectus, the images in Zap? And how many people do not read what's written on the image, or
Well,
how
if
many
they're-
do?
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah,
It's,
if
So
they're
listen-
projecting the images, they may not read it.
For the
Right.
last decade, I've used a corner booth for my booth shot, and I'm a jeweler. So, I mean,
well, it's a prettier booth.
well, and you see all my cases. There's no on the
There's
third
nothing
wall.
here.
There's no cases anyway.
Yeah,
But it would help if there were specs, because the booth shot, we get wrapped up in the minutia of it and everything, and it is so important. It would be nice if shows had specs for what they want. I mean, Zap has specs, but each show is different.
But almost none of them address the booth slide, do they? They address by category, maybe how they're describing the artwork. But as far as a booth slide, how many shows have you ever seen describe what they're looking for in a booth slide? I'd have to say pretty close to 0.
no, actually quite a few. As a
Really?
juror, I've seen quite a few.
Uh,
And they actually have said how it will be used. It may be 25% of your score. And that's a real bugaboo for me, because if it's going to be that much of my final score as an artist, I want to know that.
Yeah, Lawrence
Right.
Park
True.
is famous for 30%.
Wow.
At least
Say that
saying that.
Wow.
But see, then defining what they're looking for in a booth slide becomes all that much more important, because your fate
That's-
with the jurors hinges more than on your booth slide than it does any individual image slide. If you're submitting 4 images in a booth slide, and the booth slide is going to count for 30%, that's a big one.
That's a huge percentage.
Yeah.
What show is
doesn't
that,
make
Larry?
Long's Park.
30%?
They've said
Wow.
that for years. I don't know if.
I was
it
a
doesn't
juror,
make
and they
sense.
didn't. Okay, I was a juror last year or the year before, and they did not tell us that. So maybe they did it before, but they're
That
not.
could have
doing
been
it.
when the Dicks ran the show.
Yeah. Because it's not, no, because Rick Faulkner is running it now. And his being an artist really helps the show. But no, they do not give any more weight to the booth image. Not that they told us as jurors.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't. Actually, they shouldn't score you on the booth image. They should score you on the art images and just make sure the booth is presentable.
Yes.
See, my whole thing with the booth is if I'm teetering one way or another, the booth image will really, it may just shove me one way or the other.
Mhm.
Because if it's between 2 people, one has an absolutely killer booth. And the other one looks like a flea market. Which one do you think I'm gonna choose?
Yeah, Jay Downey used to tell the jurors not to let the booth influence their scores. But I've interviewed jurors that juried for him that
Mhm.
said that it definitely does influence the scores.
It's real hard not
So,
to.
so you know what else influence with jewelry? Some people are shopping or they think, oh, I can't wear that. And that's not how to juror. That's
Right.
Jewelry is not seen as art in a lot of,
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
accessory.
Mhm.
and it is art. I mean, there's different types of jewelry, but
oh, it's too expensive. Nobody's gonna buy that at the show.
yes.
Yeah.
I get so, yeah.
Been
But
there.
that's not I mean, I know that that can happen, but that's not supposed to be the role of a juror, is to say it will or will not sell at that price point, because that's not their role as a juror.
When I pick
You are
when I pick out
totally
jury
right.
when I
I'm
pick
sorry.
out jury images, I also consider the price. So I'll have, the most photogenic showpieces I have in, but I don't just do all showpieces. I do things that are lower price point and have a range.
I do an entire range because that's what's gonna be in my booth. And I had very good success getting in by doing the range and being honest with what I'm actually bringing.
But see, and it's again, and I compliment you on it, Bonnie, is that if your jury slides are supposed to represent the body of work or the breadth of the work that you're going to show, then it should price, if high priced items are going to be there, they've got to be there in the jury thing. Though I would be stunned, I'm kind of stunned to hear the jurors actually look at that information as opposed to just. No, and why is it then, if this is an issue for jurors, that especially when they're doing this on Zap, and Zap has a blank space down there to write notes that they can't type quickly, well, we don't think this price point is going to sell. So the promoter can then learn the characteristics that the jurors that they hired and brought to bear are jurying on, and then they could slap themselves in the head and go, oh, what did I have that person as a juror for? Or I didn't educate them well enough, or they're going rogue on me. Oh my God, because that little amount looking at to type in the space that Zap gives you, it's not that much, but it helps educate the promoter and the artist as to what they were actually juried on, what the jurors actually thought about their work, why they or are not being scored higher. And that at least gives us a target to shoot for next time. Right?
Well, I like the fact that then some of the jury scores will make more sense to the person running the show
Yes.
because they can't figure out why this is the only person that's marking them down, that's giving them low scores.
That's right.
But
And are they doing it on the artwork or the booth slide? Because if there was a way to break the score out for the jury slide separately, then they can learn from that, and they can say, okay, I need to tell people better what the purpose of the jury slide is.
Well, the first jury that I put together for a show, now we're talking back in the early 80s. So we're going back in time. But the first jury I put together.
Were there dinosaurs?
But I had asked a friend to be one of my jurors because she did top shows in the country. I really respected her opinion. And she gave almost everyone zeros because she didn't like the work. Well, this is not a top show in the country, dear. This is a local art fair. And I learned a lot. I've been much more careful with my juror.
The other thing is, a juror, should be jurying the work, even if it might not be something they hang in their home. They can appreciate the skills, the quality of the work, all of that. I mean,
Yep.
it's not personal. A juror is supposed to be more equal.
And where does the public, where does the view of what the public gets to see come into, if at all, the jury process? Because this is what the event is about. And that palette of artwork that will be laid is for the benefit of the public, correct?
Yeah,
You know, I have a lot of interviews with jurors on my website.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know.
Yeah.
You want me to go find it and post a link?
yes,
Sure.
please.
Yeah,
Please.
that would be great.
But again, the question still stands, is where does this jury process, by whatever promoter for whatever show, by whatever qualities he chooses in a juror, how does this change, how does this affect the palette of artwork that is laid for the public to see and purchase from? Because if they don't come, like what they see, and they don't buy, the show fails to me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This isn't an art gallery. This isn't an art museum. This is about artwork for the public within the constraints, no buy, sell, no reps, none of that, which I'm 100%.
It's up to the
That-
show to make their parameters known, their jurors. Because a lot of times the jurors are from out of the area, which is also kind of helpful because of the fact that then you don't get the local bias. Oh yeah, he's really popular in this area. Well, that's great, but you know, his work looks like crap. Or I don't know. That's not a good example at all. But
The best shows are the ones that are more varied, where it's not all just one style of something. And in my opinion, you know, so like I know some shows will not take any like high-end gold granulation jewelry because they think it won't sell, but you know, let the local public see, you know, this beautiful work of art, you know, rather than, you know, going to a blingy jewelry store. Let them, you know, be exposed
Yeah.
to an artist who's hand making this. And so I think that you know, in some shows, if you could look at the work at the show, it's like, oh, well, clearly the jurors didn't like, say, abstract art. Anyway, you know, you're not going to please everyone, but it's nice to have a varied look to the show, you know, with good quality, of course. So it does appeal to more people. Like not everything will appeal to everyone, but then at least there's that variety, if that makes sense, what I'm saying.
well, as a juror, it really doesn't matter to me if I personally like the work. That's not what
Right.
So I agree. Larry, will you send me that link? I'm
It's
on
in the
my,
chat.
well, yeah, but I'm on my iPad and
Okay.
chat doesn't exist.
Okay, email it to you.
Either that or message, I don't care.
So
How do you message?
Through Messenger,
Is that Facebook, you mean?
sure. Or
Okay,
text me. You want my number?
it's no, then the link is on my laptop.
can you put it in the chat?
I did.
You did, okay.
But I can't
No,
grab.
Bonnie, I'll message you.
Okay, thank you. For some reason on my iPad, I'm sitting in my basement doing laundry. So I'm on my, see, I have an exciting life. Oh, God, Lord. I'm on my iPad and I can't grab chat for some reason.
Is there a way you could put it up on as a backdrop to your screen?
Put what up?
Huh?
The link?
No,
Not quickly, right?
no, I'm looking for Bonnie in my messenger. Okay, there's got to be an easier way to do this.
But
Here,
so a question then, another question, how do shows evaluate how successful the
Okay.
jury. Okay.
I sent it to you, Bonnie.
I got it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So how do shows assess how successful their jurors were in choosing work for the show?
Great question.
I don't think they ever, unless they're asked to do an on-site jury, I don't think they know.
And is that not a major failing?
I think so.
Pardon?
I don't think so, because every year the jury changes. It's not like it stays the same.
Well, on the bigger shows.
Well, even on the little shows.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I think a lot of little shows use a lot of the same jurors. multiple
Or they
years.
use their office staff.
Oh, my
Right.
favorite.
Hey, remember the Manioc story? An artist called up to find out his score and was talking to the secretary. And in the conversation, it came up that when the slides came in, she would hold them up to the window. And she decided who made it into the jury and who didn't.
Oh,
I'm not surprised. I just put it in the chat. I just got this email today from Smithsonian, and they talk about how their show is juried. It says there's no quota, no one is grandfathered into the show, etc. But I believe award winners do get in automatically, and maybe they don't.
that's interesting if they don't.
But
Well, Ron,
yeah,
totally off subject. What's your next show?
Geneva.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, first time I've ever been in, I got called off the wait list. So that talk about the wait list thing was kind of relevant. It's the first time I've ever made it in.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking forward
That
to it.
it's
Yeah, he was supposed to come to my house yesterday, but
I know, visit, sit, dog sit, all that kind of fun stuff.
it's just a really nice, very well run. Lots of rules and they enforce them. I love when shows, if they're gonna have rules, that they enforce them.
Yeah.
Where is that show? What state?
Illinois,
Oh, okay.
suburb,
Southwest side. Yeah, and yeah, you're right, Bonnie, because the text that they put into their shows about setting up your booth, that there will be nothing sticking out from your booth. If you're going to sit by your booth, you have to go be behind your booth. It was just like one of the most strict. It was like clear, very clear. Yeah, you will do this. You will not do this. You cannot put your awnings up until 8 o'clock in the morning. Blah blah blah. It was like, yeah, really good. And I've known Aaron for a long, long time, and we've had some good talks. But it's nice that it doesn't affect the jury process, though. I would love to have been in before now, but I'm glad finally. Call off the wait list. Somebody, for some whatever reason, it's cool.
well, I'm happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I hope I can tell you good stories next week.
Well, one time when I did it, my next door neighbor hooked their booth to the trash container
Ooh,
that was, and it was a really pretty trash container. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's a pretty area. But
pink.
and it was affixed to the sidewalk. So, I mean, it was, their booth was gonna go nowhere because it was attached to that. Aaron came by and the rules strictly said, no, 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 no. So I said something to them just because I'm a rule follower. And they said, no, it's fine. And Aaron came by and made them take it off.
good. And see, and I think,
It.
yeah, and I think part of that is that she's dealing with city rules that don't allow that to happen. And so working with the city in her relationship, she doesn't want to damage that. And I very much respect her for going around and saying, yeah, take it down. It can't do
That's
that.
the most important thing is her relationship with the city of Geneva.
Correct. I would agree.
Otherwise, there's no show.
That's right. Or it gets
Oh.
way, way more difficult.
And the hours are so nice at that show, and there's good ice cream. Yeah,
Now we're getting to the heart of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Well, those are important things.
it was just, I did it a few times. Very positive. Oh, and I sold well.
Oh, good. That's the best part. Yeah. When was the last time you did it?
Probably 5 years, because I stopped doing shows in 18. So I think I did it in 17.
Good. You do it again someday?
Can't make jewelry anymore. Can't see.
Well, do photography. Larry and I don't see.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, going back to the shows and the jury thing, one of the best analogies I heard from an artist a long time ago, and I apologize, I don't think I brought this up on the forum before, but I apologize if I did, is that he compared an art show to a storefront. And he said that in his opinion, that the artwork in each booth was product on the shelves of their store. And then he asked the question, what store in America will survive long-term if it doesn't pay attention to what sells off the shelves? And so in the context of not having any feedback as to how the jurors, in this case, selected work to go on those shelves in this analogy, and they don't know what sold, how does the show assess it worked, it didn't work, it was weak, it was strong? How do they ever make an assessment if they don't know how the artist did and what the public, and what the artists do is a reflection of what the public bought, which is, I think, more important. What the public think about the show.
Well, the public will talk by not showing up if they don't like what's at the show.
But the show's not paying attention to that.
But a lot of
It's not a
shows do
perfect
surveys.
analogy, Ron.
It's what?
Yeah.
It's not a perfect analogy because if I have a store, I am cultivating a clientele and I am getting constant feedback. And my profit or loss is a function of what I'm selling. But in a show, we're selecting the artists and the artists are getting some feedback, but it varies from show to show, even in the exact same show. An artist will have a great year followed by a terrible year followed by a great year. It's much harder to make the sort of calibration that you're talking about if you have complete control over the environment.
You see, each year with this analogy of a storefront is you're deciding what you're going to put on the shelves, but the show doesn't do that. That's determined by the jurors. So you might have artists in your show that sell phenomenally well. And if it was your store, you would know what was selling really well if you're paying attention, correct? But next year, it would be like bringing in a bunch of consultants and going like, well, you guys choose what I'm going to put on my shelves. And that's what the jury does.
But we're
No,
not just selling a product. That's the thing. It's different than, and also at a store, you're not only selling your own product, you're selling the work of others. So
No, but what
I
I'm
don't,
saying is that the show is the store. We're all product on the shelves. And so
Keep
there's
the
nothing about, I don't think that any part of that being us, the only part of us is, does our work resonate with the public? And if it
Well,
does,
shows-
okay, and if it does, wouldn't the show want to know, if it, for example, in terms of what Frank was saying, if some people came in, they really like certain products that they found, art that they found at the show, and they come back next year and jurors decided it's not going to be in the show. How does that leave those people feeling about, wow, we came down here last year, we took time out of our lives, we spent our money, and we bought a bunch of artwork, and they didn't bring those artists back, so we can't buy anything more from them unless we track them in some other way. But to support the show with their sales, that's not going to always happen.
Yeah, but the artist should maintain a mailing list.
yes.
Right, but that's different. This is about when they come down to the show.
Well, but they
Yeah.
wouldn't expect to see that artist if they got a postcard saying that I'm not going to be there, I'm going to be somewhere else at that time.
Look, all of my customers think I should get into every show, right? Of course I'm not going to, because you have 800, 1200, however many hundred people apply for 200, say 200 spots. So just, it's a numbers game. And, you know, you could have, you know, 500 people that should be in that show because their work is all that good, but they're not all going to get in just because of the numbers. So it's kind of an impossible situation. And
But see, I don't think it is. If you're one of the top sellers of jewelry in your category of jewelry,
Only in my dreams.
but we all dream. Yeah, that's good. But if you're one of the top sellers in your category, why would you not be back in the show the next year?
but the thing is, for me, for example, I could do like, you know, at a show, and then in the month following, I can make some, you know, huge thousands of dollars sort of sale, but the show wouldn't be able to track that.
That's right.
So like for me, the show itself is my street traffic, and it doesn't necessarily always equate to the money right then. It's this long-term.
But then with the example I gave you, if you were one of the top selling jewelers at the show,
Mhm.
why the public's voice was, we really liked your work. So why would the show and jurors, why empower them to make any decision differently other than you should be
Well,
back in the show because
how about-
the public liked your work, not.
How about the public? How about when the public says, oh, they have the same people every year, so I really haven't been in a couple of years because they're the same exact people.
Well, that would assume that the public coming looks at all the different art to make that decision, which I don't think they do. I think
Well,
there might be a few.
I mean, the thing is,
It makes
then
sense.
what's the point of a jury if you're just going by the cost that somebody makes at the show then?
Well, the jury will always be necessary to some point, but to overweigh the voice of the public makes no sense to me whatsoever, because we ask the public to pay attention to the advertising, to respond to it, to schedule it, to come get out of bed, do whatever they do, get in their cars, drive down to the show, find parking, walk through the show, find us again, and buy our work. And then the next time they do that, that work may not be there.
Well,
But
it's
Ron,
too.
I have never been to a show 2 years in a row where there wasn't at least some continuity.
There always will be. There always will be. There will be some continuity, but that's because the jurors chose those people again. Theoretically, a different set of jurors chose those same artists again. But a lot of those artists that were really good sellers to the public in that community won't be there.
Yeah, but how many times, like I could do a show and have a great show, and then the year after it'll be lousy. I mean, that happens to all of us. So if you're just judging by money, then, you know.
How else do you judge the public's response?
Well,
So I gotta go. I got something at 5:30. I'll see you all next week.
I'll
Bye,
see
Frank.
Frank.
so somebody like me, I'd never get in because, you know,
Why?
I make a lot of my sales right, you know, after the show. Sometimes it's 2 years after the show, sometimes it's 2 months. So I think it's supposed to be about the art and bringing art into the community. And I do think part of our job, aside from selling, is educating the public.
How are we doing that? You think that people come down to be educated about art, or they come down?
Totally.
To buy art?
I talk to people, I show them my process.
Not
Other
you,
people come.
all the artists in the show. Do you think that's what the show is about?
Well, we all need to make a living. Okay. So there's that. But I also think part of our job is to educate the public. If somebody comes to the show and they're never going to buy my jewelry, but they're just interested and I'm showing them, that I want them to have a positive experience of going to a craft fair. I don't want them to say, oh, the artists treated me like shit because I wasn't going to buy anything. So I think it's not just about money. And, you know, I could see thousands of people, but only 10 of them say are going to buy from me. But I think all of us as artists at a show should be there to also educate the public, to kids also, like let them have positive experiences. They're future collectors, hopefully. And it's, to me, this long-term thing. It's not just a one and done kind of situation, but if a show,
It is.
Sure.
If the jury juries you out. It's a one and done situation. If you try for 3 or 4 years to get in the show, boom, you get in, public really likes your work, boom, the next 3 or 4 years of jurors jury you out. It was a one
Right.
and done. Where there is no
No.
more education to the public.
Welcome
No.
to my life.
but no,
Welcome.
that's not true, because if they sign my mailing list, then they still have access to me, and they can become a customer of mine. So to me, it's not just a one and done. If you collect the information, if they want to give their information to you.
Okay, if you're running your own booth and sales and everything, how is the show going to monitor that?
They aren't.
They don't.
Well, he's saying they should get in people that sell. How can they tell who's selling?
They
Well,
can't.
that's the path I'm going down, is that if the show cares about the public and what the public's experience is, especially in terms of if they're going to come down and they're going to spend their money to buy artwork. And the flip side of that is if you go into a store and you buy something and it's something that you'd like to buy regularly, and the next time you go in there, it's no longer there because some consultant told them, well, we're going to go in a different direction with that product. How many more times are you going to go in that store looking for that product before you finally say, well, I'm not going in this store anymore?
Yeah, but stores have inventory control. Art shows don't.
But they could.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can. Can't they?
Right.
No,
No, because you have a lot of different little stores within a mall rather than one store.
Hey,
No, but the store is the show. It's not the artist. The store
show
is made up, we're the product on the shelves at a show.
Yeah,
I
but
think you're thinking of it from much more of a commercial standpoint than what the business model actually is.
How so?
Because nobody becomes an artist purely to make money. That makes just no logical sense. So,
How do you survive
I
as an
think-
artist if you don't make money? And
then, right, but you're not like, you go into finance if you want to make money, right? I mean,
wait a
No,
second.
no,
Art
what I
shows-
learned
art
when I
shows
started
aren't
out-
about art.
what I was told about
What?
artists when I first
Larry?
started,
What?
what were you saying?
Art shows are more about making money than about art. Because the artists go home and they create what they think will sell.
I don't create what will sell.
No,
I
but
don't
there
think that
are-
way.
But there are very few artists that actually have a vision.
but see, when I first started doing art shows, I heard from various artists, that this exercise of doing art shows is about finding your market for what you create, what you're passionate about creating. But once
Fair enough.
you find that market, there's no guarantee you get to go back to it. And that's what doesn't make any sense, because our success at a show or lack of success is purely based on the public, not what we create, what we're passionate about. And if the public doesn't respond to it, then we can walk away after several tries and go like, well, it's not for me. But when the public does respond to what we create and enthusiastically and in quantity, why is that not important to anybody?
It's not that linear though. Markets change. Like my market in Berkeley, where my studio was, I used to sell out of the studio, but the last 10 years, it really changed with the tech field growing because they don't buy art. And so, everything ebbs and flows no matter where you are. It's not stagnant, like this is always going to be my market.
But you go into a show one year and you sold $20,000 in jewelry. You're fine the next couple of years getting juried out of it?
yes,
It's just the luck of the draw, but those people who bought from me, the chances of them buying again are actually very good.
And you think that's true of stepping outside of your art form as a jeweler? You think that's true for all art forms?
So wait, let's go back to the other thing. So if you do this really great show you think it's okay to not get back in. What would your solution be? Your solution would be the show should be driven just by in money. La Quinta is one show where if you have top sales, you can get in automatically.
Right, and I've done La Quinta. And I think there's also, when I did Oklahoma City, I have a feeling that it was like you got invited back if, say, you were in the top
Well,
third and you
for
got,
3 years, Oklahoma City, that they do it by the money.
but they don't anymore for the 3 years. Now it's based if you're in the top 75% of the sales, you're invited back.
75%?
If you're in the top 75% of sales, you're invited back. If
Well,
you're in the
that's-
lower 25%,
That leaves no spaces for other people.
25%,
That's the way it's always been.
25%.
Wow.
But see, again, this isn't, to me, Bonnie, that this isn't an art gallery, an art museum. This is saying that with the public voice and the expenditure of their money, why shouldn't that be listened to? And because it's a commission or because they keep track of sales, they know what the public is responding to. And I applaud them for paying attention, however, we may want to not necessarily agree with the 20% commission or whatever else. They're at least paying attention to what, as does La Quinta, to what the public says and what the public buys. And I think that's important because otherwise you're telling the public, well, you know, come to the show. We don't really care what you buy. We don't care if you buy anything. And it's not going to affect what we're going to have here next year. In essence, that's what the shows say. They don't care because they're going to hire jurors.
That's absurd because there could be
Yeah.
another jeweler who gets in the next year and I don't get in, and they could make $20,000 because the public liked them too. So,
But why not have you there and that other jeweler there?
because you can only have so many spaces. It's a numbers game. You can't have everyone, you know, everyone who's like qualified to be in that show. You can't have them all only because there's only so many spaces.
But I don't understand the rationale that we're saying that a certain percentage of the top selling people, they
Don't
will
get
have
in.
back. No, we'll be back in, and then the rest of them are back in the jury pool. And so there will
But then
be,
why should I spend my money applying to a show if my chances are so much less then? Because all these other people are automatically in.
because if you get in and it's your market, you will be, it's the same thing with a grandfathered show. Why care about a grandfathered show? Why do people apply to Krasl for all those years other than, or Old Town?
Because they
other
didn't
than-
know that it was grandfather.
Exactly. And then the question would be, if they knew it was grandfathered, would they still apply for those one or two positions in their art
No.
medium in the advent that they got in, then they would be grandfathered in. And if it was a good show, then they're the one, they would be grandfathered in.
I'm still
Listen, the
back
way, go ahead, sorry.
75% a re-invite at Oklahoma City because I was a juror for that show a few years back. And I don't remember how many, but maybe 30%.
You had to do over 3,500.
But it's like a gazillion days long.
Yeah, 6 days.
That's easy to,
Well,
whatever.
Yeah.
That really bothers me.
Why? But why, Bonnie?
Well, because do people know that only 25% of the show is open?
at Oklahoma, do
I don't think
artists,
so.
are you asking, do artists know?
Right.
No,
I don't think they know.
it used to be a 3-year medium by category.
Correct.
But I will tell you, they run a lovely jury. If anybody cares.
And they
AC,
also foster that they have dinners throughout the year and they project the artist images.
that's nice.
So the people that are coming they buy, I don't know how to put it. They pledge so much money being spent on art.
I
And
love
they
that.
know who they are going to buy from before they even go to the show.
Yeah. Which is great
Which-
public interaction, absolutely great public interaction for the artists, right?
Which is also why all shows need to have minimally a picture of the artist's work, their name, a link to their website, because I mean,
Yep.
the public does preview shows
They
throughout the year.
preview and they post view.
Right.
It makes it very easy to then find an artist that you liked at the show.
Right.
So I gather that you guys don't mind the fact that regardless of how well you do at a show, the show's not paying attention to that. You don't care if you get juried out the next year, and you'll just rely on your email list to suck them in that way.
It's not a
But that's
question
the
of
whole,
caring,
Me.
that,
but
that's
that's
the
the
whole
way the
thing.
business goes.
But is it a good business model? Is the essence of this business model makes sense? Because to me, the public,
Yes.
which the whole business model is based on, are.
no, it's not. That's where we disagree.
Okay, how so?
Well, but the thing is that it's up to me as the artist to make sure that I am always growing, changing my work, doing better work, so I do get back in.
But you have, well, and that goes back to the jury.
Yes.
thing. It's like, if you can't get past the jury, it doesn't matter what you do. Once you've gotten in and the public says, holy cow, we love this work. And
Okay.
if you can't get past the jury the next time, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Then
It's never gonna last forever though, anyway. You always need, new shows, new people. I mean, mixing it up, I think is
See,
a
if
good
you
thing.
ran, let me ask this, if you ran a store and you had a product in your store that sold really well, would you just go like, well, they need to see something new and different next year, so I'm not gonna sell that product anymore. I'm gonna get
Well,
another product in.
I mean, I don't make the exact same jewelry I made
No,
10
no,
years
I'm
ago
not
or 5
talking
years.
about, I'm not talking about you as a jeweler. If you're a store owner and you have these products in your store and one or two products are really hot sellers with the public, after 1 year, you're gonna go like, well, they need to see something different, so I'm gonna put
Yes.
something different in there.
Actually, I am.
As a store owner,
Yes,
you're gonna get rid of some of your best-selling items and replace them.
There are trends.
you bet. Because
Right, and
I want people to come in to see what's new.
new.
But you won't keep what sells well until it becomes not a good seller?
No, because by the time it becomes not a good seller, you've kept it too long.
You're stuck.
Holy
Yeah.
cow, wow.
I agree.
Getting back to Fort Worth again. 1 year I went down there with 2 other photographers to observe the jury. And Jay had a call from a lady who had attended the show and felt that there was nothing there for her to buy. She was disappointed. And she had come to the show in previous years. So he invited her to sit in on the first day of the jury to see how the artists are chosen.
Interesting.
Excellent. Love that.
What did she
And?
say?
Oh, and she walked out of there with a whole new appreciation of what was going on.
Excellent. By the way, this is a good way to get laundry done.
I need to do laundry too, maybe tomorrow morning.
Well, thanks for all the good feedback. I have to get going. So it was a pleasure talking with you all, and you all be well.
Yeah, I guess Oscar went.
Yeah, he had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Frank had to
fun,
go.
Ron. Have fun with Geneva.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll
Good
tell her,
luck.
I'll tell her you
wanna-
said hello.
I want a good report after, please.
Cool. I'll tell Aaron you said hi.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Well, interesting conversation.
So are we done for the day?
I still have more laundry to do.
We have to keep Bonnie amused.
Yeah, at least we're
Yes.
not watching Allison cook dinner.
All right.
Yeah, I always got off these so hungry.
Well, Pacific time was a little better for the other
dinner.
meetings.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll get off.
By the way,
this is-
sorry I brought up a horrible subject before.
Why?
Well,
So here's
no,
the thing. Here's the thing where Ron's coming from.
Mhm.
He did, what do you call it? What's the show in Indianapolis? Broad Ripple.
Hmm?
And he had a phenomenal show. Like somewhere 15 to 18,000.
Holy shit, a Broad Ripple?
Yeah, and didn't get in the following year.
Mhm.
That would
Ever
hurt.
since he's been talking about shows for jury based on sales.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
It's
okay.
it's frustrating.
From his standpoint, I understand. Of course, I could not break like $3,000 at that show, so I'm envious.
The last time I
But, you know,
applied to that show, I got rejected. I found out I was one of 3 photographers that got rejected. And I called up to get my jury score, and the lady that answered the phone says, "Oh, you had those great still lifes. I love those."
Uh,
And I said to her, "How come I didn't get in?" So
But
you
that's the-
never know.
right, that's the thing. It's good people don't get in because of the numbers game. And, you know, it's honestly, it's a really bad business model, what we do, which is why it's important to have a lot of different things in motion if we can. But, you know, if you think about it, I mean, that's why you have to apply to so many shows each year, because you don't know what you're going to get into. But if you get into everything, then, you know, like Oscar has 10 shows in a row now.
Oscar's work has grown over the last couple of years.
It has. I'm very happy.
His
Yeah.
work is great. He does beautiful portraiture too.
Don't know that I've seen it.
It doesn't show that it shows. But if you looked on his website, you would see he's got a bunch of different series of, you know, that's something that, you know, Ron was just talking about. Do you appeal to your market? And, you know, to a degree, we have to.
Yep.
I know that if I make jewelry with like bezel set stones, just little, you know, and that's it, nobody's going to buy it from me because they could buy it from someone else. So,
Alice, it concerns me that you're considering Florida.
okay, I'm listening.
It's a totally different game down there.
Mhm.
They aren't into art jewelry as much as they are blingy.
Mhm.
They're quite conservative.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, you might want to try, say, Coconut Grove.
Okay. Yeah. There's Coconut
Which-
Grove. There's Winter Park. Is there something in Miami, maybe? I don't
Winter
know.
Park, well, Coconut Grove is in Miami.
Okay.
Winter Park is very conservative.
Okay.
Art
Uh,
Deco show.
Pardon?
Art Deco show in Miami Beach. Bonnie's shaking her head no.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm not always
But-
gonna,
It's all,
Anyway-
it's all tourists that have a lot of money.
I would not, Allison, I would not have recommended Coconut Grove a few years ago.
Hmm.
They have the former director of Winter Park now.
Hmm.
This was her first year with it, and she is good.
Okay.
She is going to be able to bring it back to what it was. A lot of money there.
Yeah.
They buy more interesting things.
Hmm.
I don't know. I
We've
can't
lost so many shows, you know, like Lakefront, that just pisses me off.
Yep.
You know, and the Bend show or in the High Desert, Craft Boston. So
And
far,
now-
they're still online.
And now Crazzle.
I sure as hell wouldn't go to Crazzle,
Yeah.
but, yeah. But the little shows, I just, you know, in the
Filler.
Naples area, there are 67 shows in that area
Wow.
in a year.
Uh-huh.
Howard gets a lot of people, but he also has a ton of artists do his shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I understand that he's got some good shows. I never did his because I just didn't like how we would come in and piggyback on an already established show.
Yeah.
That just said a lot about his character to me,
Right.
and whether that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Scottsdale supposedly is happening in 2023.
Good.
But you know, it says on their website, but we'll see. There's no application up yet. But yeah, they're really, I mean, through COVID, we lost some. Hopefully some will come back. And you know, there's no guarantee with the show, but if it's a decent enough show, you know, you could make a bulk of money in a short weekend. So you know, I've done 3 this year and all 3 were good shows. And, you know, I never know, everything else is so random. You know, with my emails I send out, our customers going to order. I mean, I have a bunch of backlog things I need to do, but, you know, I'm also trying to, in 2020 and 21, I taught way too much and I had no time to make my work. And this year I've pulled back quite a bit. And my pre-COVID, I did 6 classes a year, which was a perfect number for me. And so I'm, you know, at that this year, and I really don't want to do more, you know. So anyway, but I feel like I can keep changing the balance up. But it's such a
Well,
wait list year.
it is so hard if you're the waitlist queen, because it's just so hard to make a schedule.
Right. Yeah.
Just
And
not-
it's getting close. I'm soon going to have to cancel. I have to cancel my lodging. I you know, by like the end of this month or August 1st. So I just can't wait till the last minute. You know, I don't want to just go to a show and say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah,
Not when
it's
it's
easier
far away.
it's
Right.
easier if you get a Sprinter with a sleeping compartment inside.
True. Or having a free place to stay. Yeah.
I mean, when I got my box truck in 1989, it cost $26,000 at the time. And I used to stay in it at shows every week. It more than paid for itself.
Right.
I don't want to sleep in my van. Call me a princess. I want a shower. I want a
Yeah.
flush toilet. Yeah.
Hey, I figured all of that out. I figured out how to wash my hair in the truck.
I can't use a hair dryer with the Jackery. It would drain the battery very quickly. No, but there is
Our
generator.
priorities.
Carry a generator.
a generator, right?
Yeah, I used to carry a generator.
I need a generator for my blow dryer.
It's true. It's true. They, you know, suck up more energy than anything else. But
Oh, that's funny. Okay, guys, I'm
All
done.
right.
It's been
Bye,
great.
everybody.
thank you.
Bye.
Oh, wait, I have to get your link. That's right. Okay.
In the chat.
Yep. Got it. Thanks.
All right. All right. Bye.